Beep.
Today's speaker is Dale Heffer. Dale is a founding member and serves on the board of the Rochester Spiritualist Society. She's been married to her husband David for 55 years and has two grown children, Daniel and Delena. She considers her son's wife, Ciora, a second daughter. Dale has been a student of spiritualism since the 1970s. She is a healer, a medium, and a spirit portrait artist. Dale also volunteers with Lifespan, teaching balance classes and Tai Chi to seniors, and volunteers with Erase, which is a local human rights organization in Irondequoit. Dale's life and philosophy is to choose happiness, which led her to become a certified laughter yoga leader. So please welcome Dale to our podium today.
Thank you. Let's see if this will stay up here. It's a pretty heavy book. And then you
That's
talk
what I was going to
You
do.
mentioned that, right? So I made it come through. All the papers go flying. All right. So actually, I think I need to keep that shut. So good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. I really love the month of March. It's my favorite month for several reasons, and you've probably heard me say this before if you've heard me speak. It's Women's History Month. That's awesome. And International Women's Day is on March 8th. The anniversary of the creation of laughter yoga is March 13th. It's been around for 29 years. So that's cool. Today's St. Patrick's Day. We all know that, yay. And the advent of modern spiritualism is March 31st. Spring's just around the corner, I promise. I know this week we're going to have freezing temperatures again, but of course the most important holiday of March is my birthday, which was March 9th, so that's past. So, I'm going to be talking about women artists and spiritualism. In the past, I've talked about women and spiritualism and how that ties in with women's suffrage. We know that many women spiritualists were outspoken suffragists because, although women were not allowed to engage in public speaking, they were able to speak and be heard through mediumistic messages, which were supposedly the thoughts of others channeled in trance, and they were not promoting their own ideas. Well, it turns out that this is also true of women's artistic endeavors, especially concerning abstract art. Women have been relegated to the background as artists, writers, inventors, and so on. Many women writers would use a pseudonym for their writing, right? Scientific discoveries by women were attributed to their male partners or their husbands. So how many can name a famous male artist? Say the name. Van Gogh. Monet. Rembrandt. Picasso. Name a famous female artist.
Grandma Moses.
Frida.
Frida Kahlo. George O'Keeffe, my favorite.
Is it Mary Cassatt?
Cassatt, yes, I've heard of her. I've heard of those. What was the last one?
Kate Kovlich. She was a German artist.
Okay, I haven't heard of her. See? Yeah. Okay. So I just thought I would Google famous artists in history. This is what came up. The red circles are women. I know two of them, Georgia O'Keeffe and Cassatt. Mary Cassatt. And most of the other ones I've heard of. I have an art background, so I've heard of a lot of the other ones, and you've probably heard of them too. So that's just what we're talking about. So, have you heard of Hilma af Klint?
No.
Neither had I. So a couple years ago, I happened upon a documentary entitled Beyond the Visible, Hilma af Klint. In fact, Klint was creating amazing abstract art several years before the first showings of Kandinsky. who is widely accepted as the forerunner of this genre. And why do you think she wasn't recognized despite creating hundreds of incredible abstract drawings and paintings?
She's a woman.
She didn't show them. It wasn't acceptable for a woman, and she was discouraged from showing them. People wouldn't accept it, so she didn't show them. And because she was a woman is why she didn't show them, because Kandinsky did, and the other ones. So she kept the paintings to herself for the most part, stipulating in her will that they were not to be displayed until 20 years after her death, thus protecting her abstract art from the sexism of society. I've got a big drink of water right behind me. My mouth gets very dry when I speak. Okay. So what were her paintings about, and what does this have to do with spiritualism? Hilma trained at the Royal Academy of Fine Art in Stockholm, Sweden, and she became an accomplished artist, exhibiting her traditional portraits and landscapes through 1914. That was becoming okay. However, despite this traditional training, from an early age, Hilma read widely on religious and spiritual teachings. She was particularly interested in Theosophy, a religious movement co-founded in 1975 by Russian occultist Helena Blavatsky. There's a lot of names in here that I'm going to destroy. I had to look up Theosophy. I don't know if you know what it means, but I didn't. So here's 3 objects of Theosophy: to form a nucleus of the universal brotherhood of humanity without distinction of race, sex, caste, or color; to encourage the comparative study of religion, philosophy, and science; to investigate unexplained laws of nature and the powers latent in humanity. So many artists, including Kandinsky and Mondrian, were influenced by Theosophy, which had roots in religions such as Buddhism. F. Klint followed these teachings, but in 1920, she joined the Anthroposophical Society, which was led by the former Theosophical leader, Rudolf Steiner. This movement focused more on artistic expression, which aligned more with her interests. This led F. Klint to another religious movement called Spiritualism. And in 1879, at the age of 17, she began participating in seances. So I had watched this movie about her, and when I got up to this part, I was going, wow. You know, I just was watching it because she was an artist. I didn't know she was a spiritualist, so it just excited me so much. So, the death of her sister Hermina 1 year later increased her interest, and by the mid-1890s, she met regularly with a group of 4 other women who called themselves La Femme, or the Five. They communicated with mystic beings called High Masters: Amaliel, Ananda, Esther, George, and Gregor. They would translate messages from these beings through automatic writings and drawings. The High Master, Amaliel, informed F. Klint that she would be called upon to convey the spiritual world in paintings, and George foretold that she would be summoned to design a temple. The other members were also asked, but none of them accepted. They expressed concern to F. Klint that such an intense engagement with the spiritual realm could lead to madness. F. Klint, however, accepted Amaliel's commission to create the paintings for the temple in 1906. Her main ambition was to understand the messages from the spiritual world and transfer them to the paintings. In all, she created 193 paintings for this series. Although she created these paintings for the temple did not exist. However, she envisioned her paintings for the temple filling a round building where visitors would progress upward along a spiraling path on a spiritual journey. Okay, paper. They're going to fall on the floor again. The spiritual journey defined by her paintings. The nature of that journey, like the spiritual visions that Klint pursued in her paintings, involved a mix of religious and occultist beliefs, scientific concepts, and other intellectual trends of the day, drawn from Christianity, Rosicrucianism, Buddhism, Darwin's theory of evolution, theosophy, anthroposophy, and more fundamentally, spiritualism. The rapid succession of scientific discoveries during F. Klint's era intertwined with spiritualism and influenced her work. Several artists of the time were influenced by science. Experiments into the nature of matter by scientists such as William Crookes' spectroscopy, Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen, X-rays, J.J. Thomson, subatomic particles, and Marie and Pierre Curie, radioactivity, were embraced by theosophists as validating their claims for the unseen aspects of the universe. The book, Occult Chemistry, a series of clairvoyant observations on the chemical elements by Besant and Leadbeater in 1908, charted in detail, chemical element by element, a clairvoyant investigation into the structure of atoms. Besant claimed she could actually see atoms with a clairvoyant eye. F. Klint's Atom series in 1917 may owe something to the specific ideas and images proposed in occult chemistry. But perhaps the more important point is that both are symptomatic of a modern regime of visuality, a notion of a clairvoyant or all-seeing eye being a perversion of the modern scientific endeavor, one intoxicated by the marvels of its technologies of viewing and communication, from the X-ray to the visualization of sound in the radio wave. F. Klint believed that the paintings for the temple and her other abstract series were beyond the understanding of her contemporaries and therefore best held for future audiences. She states, "The experiments I have conducted that were to awaken humanity when they were cast upon the world were pioneering endeavors. Though they travel through much dirt, they will yet retain their purity." Although the temple was never built, coincidentally, another artist, Hilma Ribe, had similar interests and philosophy as Hilma, stating, "It is our destiny to be creative and our fate to become spiritual. Humanity will come to develop and enjoy greater intuitive power through creations of great art." Ribe was hired by Solomon Guggenheim of the Guggenheim Museum to advise in his art acquisitions and subsequently exhibit them. Envisioning a circular structure, which she described to artist Rolf Scarlett, "Do you never think of a gallery that went round and up, leading to heaven? A place of light and music, a spaciousness with the air of a temple?" She eventually invited Frank Lloyd Wright to create a museum, which was materialized in the Guggenheim's eventual form and unknowingly echoing F. Klint's plans to present her own work, the paintings for the temple. There's no synchronicity, there's no exodus. So Hilma F. Klint died in 1944. In 1966, over 20 years later, her paintings were brought out and photographed by her nephew and her grandnephew, to whom she had bequeathed them. They created the Hilma F. Klint Foundation to safeguard the paintings, which were not shown to the public until 2013. The exhibition of Hilma F. Klint, Paintings for the Future, was shown at the Guggenheim in New York City in 2018. So, one more sip here. Since a picture is worth 1,000 words, I'd like to show you some of F. Klint's paintings. The print I have here is called Altarpiece. And there's a little blurb about it. I can get to it. Here we go. The last group of the paintings for the temple, completed in 1915, are 3 large canvases. And by large, she means 6 feet by 8 feet. This is not 6 feet. This is like 5.5 feet by 8 feet. These are huge, and they're not the biggest ones. They each features a gold circle and an equilateral triangle. One with its apex pointing upward, and the other one downward. The works appear to relate to Theosophy's version of evolutionary theory in which all the cosmos is undergoing an evolutionary process. Evolution can occur in 2 directions, elevating from the physical to the spiritual, and descending from a higher level of being to the limitations of the material world. So that's what that was about. And then there's others of that series, the altarpieces, which I will try to show you in this awesome book that I have here. See if I can find it. Okay. Here are the altarpieces. So there are several, it's a series. This is the altarpiece number 1, which is the one that I have a print of because I loved it so much. This is altarpiece 2 and 3, and you can see they progress along different, they become more and more, I don't know, focused, I guess, is the word. So there was 3 of those. Then, let's see. This is a group from the Paintings for the Temple called the 10 Largest. Now these are like 8 feet by 10.5 feet. So these are the 10 largest. And you're welcome to look at this book later. So this is a group of the 10 largest, and they're just fascinating paintings. Can you imagine those being 8 by 10 feet? And there was something that said that they found some footprints, and they figured she painted these on the floor. I mean, how much could she have done them, really? Flower things, just, and I don't know, yin-yang stuff and spirals, lots of spirals. She had lots of spirals, and we know those are spiritual symbols. They're just amazing. I just love them. I would love to have one of those that big. Wouldn't that be fun? Fantastic. And these are the spirit-led ones. These were, you know, she said that she would get Amalia would do a sketch, and Hilma would paint them. That's what she said. So, that's interesting. All right, let's see. So, the 10 largest, this cycle focuses on the stages of life in humanities. words create a vocabulary of complex and shifting meanings, with which F. Klint herself appears to have grappled. In these works, a plant tendril may become a spiral, which in turn unfolds into a coiling line that then describes a calligraphic letter, codes and words from an unknown language. Two pulsing orbs are at the same time microscopic eggs and intersecting solar systems. These forms continue to evade singular or stable interpretations. Evolution, continuity, growth all progress and coexist with a return to the beginning or the oneness of the spirit. Science and spirit, mind and matter, the micro and the macro are simultaneously present. And they are called, the first two are called childhood, 3 and 4 are called youth, the next 4 are adulthood, and the last 2 are old age. So if you can take a look at this later, I'll leave it over on the table. Then we have the tree of knowledge, and they're very interesting. And these are not huge, these are like 18 by 12. And it's just so different from any, like we see the tree of life and stuff like that, but there's just so different, and there's so much in them if you look closely. Like there's doves and there's black ones and white ones and yin yang type of things, and it's just all very fascinating. Even if you're not an art aficionado, you just have to love her work. Then we go to the swan. The swan is very interesting. So these are a series about the swan. So these look like swans. These kind of look like swans. They're a little bit not quite swan-like. This is also a titled swan. I don't know, maybe she's looking in the inside their atoms or something. Some of it has to do with color, some of it, I don't know. I mean, I just can't be in her mind. just fascinating. I just find it so fascinating. As you can tell, I'm excited about this. I just love her. More and more and more simple. Just practically a circle and some lines. We're still doing the swan here. If this exhibit ever comes anywhere near me, I'm there. Then we go to the dove. It doesn't even start out like a dove. It just starts out with all this abstract stuff. And that's like 5 feet by 5 feet. These are pretty big. This is also the dove. I don't know. This is the dove. Are you able to see these? Just a glimpse there. And then let's see. There was. Oh, this is so interesting. This is called Standpoint of Religion. I found these particularly interesting. This number 1 is the starting picture. Number 2 is the current standpoint of the Mahatmas. I don't know anything about that religion, the Mahatmas. 2B, this one is 2B, is the Jewish standpoint at the birth of Jesus. That's what that's about. And then we have the Buddha's standpoint in worldly life. And my favorite one, the standpoints of Judaism and heathendom. It's it's just so fascinating, so fascinating. So, let's see, I think that probably, oh, there was one more picture which you have to see, and I think it's the last one in here, which just gives you a little feeling, and it's a little hard to see because it's kind of small. This is the exhibit. So here, these are the people, and then there's the paintings. These are the 10 largest paintings. So you can see on the scale of how huge they are and how, I don't know, imposing, I guess is the word. So, thank you very much for listening, and I will leave the book over there if you want to take a look at it, and feel free to. And I do have this other book which got me started on all this. It's called The Other Side, and it's a story of women in art in the spirit world. So I've got to read that some more, and who knows, I might have to do another talk. Thank you.